Okay, just go. Let's start. How it shows. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bamisile Tolulope. I'm a project manager assistant at bincom Dev Center, and I am here to discuss the topic again, continuation of my last KB I had, which was my former KB was on initiation of initiation of how to initiate a project. Now I'm talking on the planning essentials for a successful project, what you need to put in place to make your project successful. Now what we're about to start talking about right now. In the next few minutes, I won't take much of your time. I am hoping to be able to pass a bit of knowledge I can to make you understand this. Thank you. Let's start. So sorry about that. Planning is essential for a successful project. Then, firstly, let's remind ourselves a little bit about what we talked the last time we met. So we talked about the core stages of project. We have the initiation phase, planning stage, execution phase, monitoring and control, and closure. We've talked about the initiation phase, and I've taught you how to initiate a project. Now I'm talking about how to plan it, which brought about the essentials of planning a project, what you need to put in place in planning a project. So what is planning? Planning is the most important project stage, where we put together an execution strategy that can get the job done and be easily monitored and controlled, and determine the scope, schedule, budget, and risk with an accuracy of plus or minus 10. So we know what we are getting into before we start. That's what planning does. Planning is just help us to know what we are going to enter before we start the real project, before anything starts. Planning helps us to get a general overview of everything we are going to do and give us a concise precision to move by. So that's what we are doing in planning. We just want to know, okay, we'll create something like a budget, create everything. That's what planning has to do. There's nothing that can happen in the project without planning. Anything you're doing and you don't plan for it, it's going to end up being a failure. So you have to plan, and it's the most essential part of your project. The person that plans a lot will easily get the better of it than someone that don't plan for his project. So now I want to teach you a little bit about planning. So other planning, these are the major things that are going to be discussed: the risk, the cost, the time, the communication, and then the scope. So what's scope? Scope is the process that helps us determine and document all the list of project goals, tasks, deliverables, and projects. That's from the last class that we discussed. That was scope. The scope basically talks about everything the project is about, everything that the project can need, no matter what, the risks, the cost, the budget, everything. That's what the cost is talking, the scope is talking about. It goes general, it generalizes, it takes everything into it. Scope must be well dealt with. If you want to start planning, scope is the most important part. You have to know everything, the deliverables you are going to deliver, everything must be there, must be noted, because it's from the scope that you know how to break down the work structure to get your deliverables and to get your small tasks to be able to get this. So that's how important scope is. Now, another problem now is the incomplete scope. Most of the time, when you see there is a failure of a project, it's because of the incomplete scope. That would be some part of the scope that were dropped, that were not looked into well, that caused that scope to be a failure. Because what? If you do not check out the scope, you just left some things out and you not really look and you really come back out at the end of the day to bother your project, it won't be nice enough. So that's why scope must be really looked into, because you have to make sure it is well dealt with. It has to go deeper. You won't need to even go more than things that are not going to even be in the project, just to see it affecting. Just look how it will affect the project, basically. Now, let's talk about work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure. The work breakdown structure identifies all the deliverables, both passed to the customer at the end of the project, as well as the interim output produced during the project, just to get the work done and make everything else in planning easy. Work breakdown structure basically seems it's what is done is there is that it takes a whole project and break it down into smaller tasks to be able to ensure it's getting done complete fast quicker than normal. Because when you break a whole project down, it becomes simpler, easier to do. And you even know before you finish it, because if you have small tasks, you have finished it. This is not small one, and now you have finished it. So before you're knowing, you're already finishing those tasks, you're finishing those tasks, you're finishing those tasks, and more you are improving, you are building it up, you are not even looking at it though. Then there will now be some milestones. Those milestones, before you know, you take those milestones, you take another milestones, then boom, the project is out, the project is already available. So that's what it's just about. That's how work breakdown structure is. What breaks down structure makes the project easier to do. And the work breakdown structure can be organized either hierarchical or phase by phase in the combination, whatever the clearance of the human communication, with categorized being merely convenience and identification of deliverable based on what really matters. Yeah, that what work breakdown does. It can be categorized either from the hardest to the easiest or from the easiest to the hardest. That's what they mean hierarchical. Or it can be, oh, this one is convenient for you, or which deliverable are more important now. That's how it is being categorized. Now, this is an image of what the work breakdown structure looks like. It don't just make sense for us to just be talking about it and not making guys to see what we're really talking about. This is a work breakdown structure of an aircraft system that is the project. The aircraft system is the project. This is the project aircraft system. These are the breakdown structures that you can see there. And these are the deliverables. Those airframe propulsions application software are breakdown that the deliverables for this year's system. All this, each one of them have their own deliverables. These are the tasks. These are the tasks. The level two, the one labeled level two are the tasks. Why the one labeled level three are the deliverables. So once those deliverables are already delivered, they will form the tasks. And when the tasks have been completed, get to the project. See how fun the work breakdown structure make your work easy to do and all. So anything you want to do, always try to break the work down to make it more easier and to make it more simple to be able to handle. Now, let's talk about the precedence diagram. And in some cases, it's called the critical path, using the critical path method. Okay, so the precedence diagram flowchart is how the deliverable come together, showing the fundamental logic of the project and is the important practical tool for planning, communicating, and managing the project. This precedence diagram is not only used in planning, it's also used in monitoring and controlling of the project. So it is also as important as the scope also, because after the scope, the next thing that is the most important in any project you are doing is the critical path method. You have to check the longest continuous chain flow of the work deliverables in your project that you are doing, to be able to determine when you will start, when you will finish. So the little diagram that is here is basically showing us, though it's not well labeled, it's just like an example to just show you what a precedence diagram look like and how to check for the longest time range, because the critical path is the longest time of continuous projects to longest time range for the longest time range for the project to get done. That will give you a critical path. So now if you want to calculate critical path, I won't do everything finished, but I'll just start if you want to do critical part for this one, you see one, it starts from one. One is the start point. You take that one, add it to 3. That's the earliest start. 1 plus 3, 4. So now 4 has 3 now has 4 places that is split into. You now say, no, that is 4 that is there. I say 4 plus 4, 8. 4 plus 5, 9. 4 plus 6, 10. 4 plus 7, 11. So after everything have been added like that, so this one will now be what now? 7 and 8, 9, 10, 11. 8, 9, 10, 11 is not the even number. You don't change the 4, you just write it on top. Then now that 8, 9, 10. Now say the 8 that is there, add it to the 8 that is there. You have another number. The 9 that is there, add it to this 9, 18. The 10 that is there, add it to 11, 21. The 11 that is there, add to this one, 21 again. So now that's it. So for the next one, the number that is up here, you add it to the place that is going to. That will give you 12. Then there will still be number here. Add it to this 12 again. You have another number there. Then 11 plus 21 plus 13. Then 21 plus 13. Then as they are dividing, you'll be taking those numbers. Then after you have not finished calculating it, the one with the longest flow, that as it is continuing, it's not stopping, it is moving to the next, it's moving to the one with the longest flow without stopping at anywhere. Obviously, the one with the longest flow in this place will be 135, 9, 12, 15. 12, 15. 12. No, sorry, 135, 9. 135, 9, 12, 15, 23, 25. That will be the longest flow without breaking at all to get it completed. So you calculate it, that will be the longest distance. Or you can have 136, 11, 13, 16, 17, 19, 22, 24. That can be the other one. So anyone that is the highest between two of them, those are going to be the two ones with the highest critical part. That's me just assuming, but I'm sure it's going to be between both of them. So the one that has the highest, that's one you will pick. Then you now calculate again from back to front. Then you now pick the one that is the highest. That will be your critical part. So I think that should really, that's one I've really explained the critical part. Don't worry, in the next meeting we are going to meet, we'll talk more about the critical parts method. Then now estimation. One thing that is very important in project in planning also, you must be good at estimating also, because you are going to be estimating the time, the cost, the resources, to be sure that none of them is pushing to the other side, none of them is moving to the other side. Because there's something called the triangle. We have a triangle, which is scope, time, cost, and risk is in the middle. So they must be balancing each other. If the scope is lower than the risk, than the time and the cost, the triangle you have to always try to be balancing that triangle so that one is not more than the other, so that they must always be balanced. If the scope is smaller, that means you have to like maybe reduce the cost and reduce the resources. Or maybe the cost is smaller, you have to reduce the scope and reduce the time. So that's just how it works. Just ensure that that triangle continues to be balanced. Now, the precedence diagram and deliverables estimate are loaded onto a Gantt chart, so giving a start date and the two map work across the whole and the intermediate greater part to get back the deliverable. The Gantt chart is also another way to be able to get your critical path method. This is the Gantt chart. These are the Gantt chart looks like. This Gantt chart, you will put your start date for each task you are doing. Put your start date and put your duration. By itself, it will work everything out and label it out for you. Then this same Gantt chart is very, very useful in monitoring and control. It is the most useful part of monitoring and control, because everything you need in your managing and control is here. You are seeing it. is already well placed there, and all you just need to do is to check your Gantt chart to see if you are meeting your deadlines and to see if you are already passed. Everything is here, your risks, your buffers, everything is placed in the Gantt chart. The Gantt chart is very, very, very useful tool for projects managers. Then risk. Risk is one of the main things you have to be very, 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 very aware of and take conscience of. Like you should be very, very, you put it as a high priority, because you might be working on a project now, you feel like, oh, this thing will not happen. Even though you know it will not happen, still put it down, still write it down, or just maybe label it as not really that important. And check out, no, but before you even label it as not important, firstly sit down with people that are more knowledgeable about you in the field and come up and draw discussions and say, okay, if this thing happens, how you will solve it, and if it not happen, well, that's good for you. But if it happens, ensure that someone that will be able to solve it, that is already experienced in that field, is ready to solve it. That's how risk is. Risk is not something that is not going to happen. It's not something you are planning for. That is called risk. But as a project manager, you must be prepared for risk. It's one thing that must be in your planning. And that's the major reason why you are planning, to avoid risk. Even though it's not like everything can avoid. But then that's why we have something called risk buffer. We have the risk buffer to like succumb, maybe to increase the cost. There's something called cost. You increase for the risk. So I guess if a risk come up, be able to have a sucker to go back to and pick it up from there. So for us here, risk planning adds time and money into the project to take account of uncertain events. 80% responsible that negatively impact the project. You see, you have to, it provides money and time. In case if the time is not enough, or in case the money is not enough, or in case the resources are not enough. That's what the risk planning appeal to avoid. Risks are most commonly identified by brainstorming by the core project team. Like I said, see, core project team, people that know about it, standard risk checklists and are baselined in risk statement form. So that's it. So people that know about it, the projects you're working on, those are people that have to sit down together, brainstorm about the risk, because they have to like make a meeting based on just the risk to make everybody happy and not really regret at the end of the meeting. Risks response planning, assign an owner closest to the risks. It's what I said before. That's it. So the owner closest to the risks. It's not like some, that's it. So how will be his own deliverable? His own deliverable is that once this risk happens, you have to be the one to work on it, because you are very, very knowledgeable about it, you know about it, and you're very, very good at it. So that's what it is there. So that one will reduce the amount of money you will spend again just to be searching for people. But because but once you have done it before, it's easy for you. Once you've done it before, it's easy for you to just pick your just call the person that you already picked down that you know that is very knowledgeable and it should be there. But if it's now that, oh, the day is happen, you not just be looking for people to just start looking for people, now start doing everything. That will still take time and more money. But once you have gotten the person down, yeah, you know much money and time that will be wasted on doing that. Yeah, we have something called the risk register where we register risk. You have to put our risks down. The risk register should include at least 5 risks. Just sit down and think about at least 5 risks, a maximum of 10 risks, typically accounting for 10%, 5 to 10% to 15%. That's right. 5 to 15% of the project's time, cost, and more or less depending on the project. So let's say the project is going to cost, assuming let's say it's cost, the project is going to cost for 24 hours. So 5 to 10 to 15% of that 24 hours must be budgeted to risk. Yeah. So that means at least like 3 hours you're budgeting it for in case the risks happen. That time that means your project is going to be, the whole time you have for your project is 17 hours. Sorry, it's 21 hours. And the remaining 3 hours is for risk. That's if it happens. But if it not happen, those just know you have 3 hours already budgeted for in case if your risk happen, and more money also. If it's that you have projected like 1 million, 5 to 15% also is going to be budgeted for risk. So risk budget is very, very important. The risk cost goes into a controlled account requiring justification. Yeah, the risk cost, the amount you're going to, yeah, that's the money you spend on risk. The money that this money is really budgeted for risk. It's not for the project, it's anything that has to do with the risk. So it can only be collected for when there is the need arises. And the project manager will be able to collect it when the need arises, maybe when the risk is already high and it's come down, when you can go and withdraw that money. So that's why it is there, because the risk is very, very important in planning. Now we have communication, where we communicate in this thing. We use that Gantt chart also to communicate among each other. But if someone sees like a, how do you call it, someone that don't know about it, just say Gantt chart, it will be too, again, it will be too cumbersome for him to understand. So there will be other ways to communicate, like creating something like a stand-up to check how many work we've done. Just create a meeting like 5 to 15 minutes, check, okay, what have we done, what have we delivered? So what have we not done, what have we not delivered? How can we do it? How can we move on? Then have meeting with the stakeholders also and people that are working, everybody that the project affects, so that you continue communication. As you're communicating, you'll be getting more information. You'll be knowing what is going on. You know that, oh, this risk is about to happen. This okay, you are going to finish this project before time. You are going to have more. You are going to need more resources. But if you are not really communicating and you have already planned and you say, oh, it's only when the project finishes that when you now have a meeting, that won't really help the project. But if you are beginning like every day, you are meeting at least twice, morning and in the evening, it will really help the project to move faster than normal and help reduce some risks along the way. Now, this is some extra information I just want to like show to you guys that you need on planning, right? Planning. Prepare a project management plan, documenting the scope, time, cost, and risk baselines, and section or separate plans as required for stakeholders, resource, communication, quality and procurement, change control, and the requirements usually with a cross-reference to the deliverables that meet them. This one is saying that you will create a project management plan. In that planning plan, all the tasks that will be done, it must have some, that word, when they say deliverables, people that are going to do them, it must be already crossed to the people that are working. If you are doing that is doing this, know your role in the project, know what you are meant to do, so that any work that is not going on, you will know what to go on. And you will say, okay, why is this thing not working? Why is this not started? And what is the problem? Or what will you need? Or is there any way you can help? Then you will be able to start. And it will make the work faster. Then review the plan with the sponsor, customer, and other relevant stakeholder. Request time to work in any changes. Provides option where possible and make absolutely sure scope, time, and risk are well balanced. You see, we are talking a lot about scope, time, cost, and risk. Those are the four major objectives that without, if any one of them are tampered with, the projects would turn out to be a failure. That's why you have to be very, very conscious of those four. If those four can be well checked into, you are going to have a very, very perfect project. And they talked about something about reviewing with customer stakeholders. No, those stakeholders, when they say stakeholders, they're talking about everybody the project affects. Let's say you're building a house now. That house that you're building, let's say, okay, you're building a refinery, a factory, and this factory is going to be emitting carbon dioxide that is harmful to people's health. And you want to build it in the commercial area where people are always going every day. Those people around there are the stakeholder because your company is going to affect them. So their say really matters. Their say really matters in your company. Because if you build that type of company finishes, those people that will limit the work of your company. And because of that, people might not really want to work for be able to afford, because you might be killing the people that are buying things from you. So you should always, those are type of things that project management people to avoid. So they'll be able to, so a project manager will have known that, okay, you can't build this type of company here because of the type of area it is, because of the type of work that will be going on inside. So to be able to tell you that, okay, let's take this other location and put it there. That's everything about project plan. Thank you for listening to me. And I hope I've been able to add more to your knowledge and understanding about planning and the essentials you need in planning. And I hope you are able to gain a little bit from the few interviews with you. And the next time we meet again, I'm Bamisile Tolulope. Thank you for listening to me today. God bless you. Thank you.